Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Cap and welcome back to the channel. Watching some Titanfall 2, of course there's the pre-alpha tech test going on right now, and this was all taken on PlayStation 4. And I'm using this as a background because it's appropriate for the topic of the conversation for this video here. And I kind of want to hear you guys' opinion on this too. So, as we go along, I'll, leave a comment if you have a thought or a process to go along with what I'm saying here. But what I wanted to talk about was the concept of software development when it comes to like video games. I'm not a game developer. I've never developed a game, but I have developed actual software before. So, and the flow and concept is kind of the same. So I do at least have a little bit of input as to how it works. But the general gist of this is about the difference between alphas and betas and demos and tech tests and things of that nature, because people expect way too much at times from a game, and it's causing some problems in the community, at least as far as I can see. It's just my opinion, of course. So for starters, the difference between the two. An alpha is when a game is still being developed. It's when the developers are adding features and making game-breaking changes to the game. It's when they're updating the engines and lighting and sound. They're changing the actual function of a game or a piece of software, whatever. Anytime something's in alpha, it means that they're still adding core mechanics and new features and new items and new maps and all this other stuff. It's when the game itself is being developed. A beta is when they have primarily completed the build of the game and they're in the process of testing it and trying to find bugs and trying to fix the flow and trying to make the game work better. The beta is not necessarily for the time when they're going to start adding new things to the game. By the time a game reaches a beta test, by then the game is mostly already done, and this is just kind of polishing it. A tech test, like we're playing with the Titanfall build here, usually takes place with an early alpha build, just like this. It's a pre-alpha build, and it's designed for them to kind of see how the game works on the back end, meaning that they're monitoring how people are doing matchmaking. They're checking to see how people are able to find matches, if lobbies are filling up properly, if connections are working like they're supposed to, if the game is allowing people to play properly, not necessarily whether every feature is absolutely perfect. Now, of course, during an alpha test, they can be doing bug fixes too. Not to say that a beta is the only time they do bug fixes. But anytime you're ever playing a game that's in alpha, which if you play any kind of early access game, like on Steam, whatever, chances are you're playing an alpha version of that game, which means that you're playing a very unfinished version of the game, and they are actively adding stuff to it. Now, being in a pre-alpha or early access or whatever like that, it's really cool because you get to see how a game actually goes and develops and grows. But something you have to keep in mind is the game isn't finished. People have been ragging on this game. I've been seeing a lot of people talking trash about this game, and I love it. I am so hyped for Titanfall 2, can't stand it. I'm so excited for this. Love the first game. But people are like, it's like, this is a crappy beta test. There's so many bugs with it. It's got this problem, it's got that problem, etc. This isn't a beta. This is a tech test, which means they're using an alpha build. Respawn and Vincent Pella came out and said that the version of the game we're playing was finalized in early June. This is not the version of the game we're going to see when it comes out. They've been working on the game non-stop since they came with this version. When you're developing software, you come to milestones, basically, which is major versions. Version 1, version 2, version 3. When you get like version 1.1, 1.02, those are all build updates. It's like, hey, we made a slight adjustment here. We did a bug fix there. And that's what the minor updates are for. But the version 1, version 2, that's when they've made huge changes and they've actually compiled a full version of the software, or the game in this case. And so what we're looking at while we're playing this game is a finalized version of the game they came up with in June. They're not going to try right before a tech test come out and say, okay, well, we're trying to rush through to get something out, because then they're just frantically trying to patch something. So what they did was they worked for months and months and months trying to come up with a finalized alpha version that was stable enough to release to consumers for a tech test, just to see how the back end's working, to see how it's loading, all that other things. Next weekend, as far as what I've been heard or whatever, is an actual beta, meaning that they have compiled all the problems that have been found during this tech test, and they've been working nonstop. They go, okay, they're going to make a tweak to this, and make an adjustment to that, and now we're going to unload our beta version of this. And so they can finally see, okay, well, all right, we know how the back ends on the technical side is working. Now we can get an idea how people are enjoying the full aspect of it. We're making sure there's not any map issues. We're making sure that the Titans work like they're supposed to. So the next major test we get will be a beta, meaning that they're looking just for a lot of bug testing and most of the actual features they have in. But for anybody who's playing a pre-alpha game, like if DayZ has been in alpha for years and it's going to be there for a little while longer. Game I've been playing and uploading, 7 Days to Die, is still in alpha. And that's not a bad thing. But you have to realize that if a game is in alpha, it is still being worked on. And so anytime somebody's just like, oh, I bought this game or whatever and it plays like crap, I'm like, you bought an unfinished product that's still being developed. Work with the developers. That's the whole reason for this. They didn't dump this out there as a marketing ploy. This is not a marketing build. They're putting it out there to say, hey, if you want to have early access to it, you can play it, you can hype it up for us if you want to, you can play it, but we want you to let us know of problems you find, because QA development only goes so far. If you got a small room full of people looking at how the game actually functions, they're only going to find so many problems. If you put it out there in the wild for everybody to look at, you're going to get much broader feedback as to what all could possibly go wrong in a game, and that's what they're looking for. So if you're playing an alpha of a game, just keep in mind, it's not finished. It's very early in the development stage, and there's going to be problems with it. So what you need to do is just go into the game with the open mind of, hey, I'm probably going to find some bugs. They've already said there's going to be some bugs, but you know what? If I find any more bugs, I'll make sure to go report it, whether it's via Twitter or Reddit or the forums or however they want to go about having you report it. When the beta comes out, then you can say, all right, cool. They've got most of the game actually finished. Now it's just fine-tuning and tweaking and making some small adjustments here and there. And, you know, I can provide feedback there. When the final game comes out, if there's huge problems and it's not functional, there's issues, then go ahead and raise hell because you paid for a finalized product that they said was good to go and it didn't. That's the time to start complaining and making death threats, which please don't actually do that. That was completely a sarcastic joke. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that thing. Is just keep in mind the version of a game that you're playing, or any software, even if it's not a video game, and just know that the developers are actively working on it, and the version you're playing might not be the finalized version. So if you start publicly trashing it, especially if you have a large audience, you're trashing something that's not even done yet. Anyway, this has been a pretty good game, Hardpoint. I didn't top the leaderboard, but I was a defense maniac in this one. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Do leave me your feedback below and drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you guys, and I will talk to you later.